thank you for joining us for the final event of Thomson Reuters Company Week of Discussions within the Future of Work Consortium. Joining us today is Amit Mehra, the founder and managing director of Reuters Market Light, or RML, a startup mobile information services business within the commodities and energy segment of our markets division. So far this week, our discussions have focused mostly on the future of work for professional knowledge workers. Today, we'll be talking about a different type of worker, farmers in rural India, and about how mobile technology is not only transforming the way they do business, but how it's truly impacting their lives. First, a bit about Amit. As I mentioned, Amit is the founder and managing director of Reuters Market Light. Inspired by the idea of a Reuters colleague, Mans Olaf Ors, and securing funding from Reuters Venture Board, Amit started conceptualizing and building RML in 2006, now a pioneering business that sells a highly personalized professional information service over mobile phones to the farming community. Prior to RML, Amit worked in a variety of business development, strategy, and operational roles in Thomson Reuters, Mitchell Madison Group, and a German government project. This covered the media industry, strategy consulting, and international trade development spanning parts of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Amit has been a member of Reuters Advisory Board for Corporate Responsibility, a founding member of Thomson, Germany, and a member of the London Cartoon Art Trust. He's a frequent guest speaker at leading institutions including London Business School and Cambridge University. He studied at Sri Ram College of Commerce and Delhi School of Economics and holds a full-time MBA from London Business School. Amit, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Hello, everyone. Amit Mehra. I'm going to talk about Reuters Market Light. I'm going to talk about three things broadly. What is Reuters Market Light? The innovative business that is empowering farmers. I then want to talk about what is Reuters Market Light, or RML as we call it. What is RML's impact on the farmers' lives and their work? And then I want to conclude with what is the multiplier effect that we have already created in India and elsewhere, and what is the road ahead of for Reuters Market Light. So let me launch straight into what Reuters Market Light is. And to explain that, let me start with what is the problem that it is trying to address. So on this slide, I talk about the problems that the farmers encounter in their work and how that affects their daily life. There are about 100 million farmers, 120 million farmers in India, and the biggest problem they have faced for many, many years is lack of timely, accurate, and relevant information. And the information about things that impact their profession, the farming profession, and these include things like at what price should they expect to sell their crop. Soybean should be sold at $30 a quintal, or $50 or $60. They don't have that information readily available, which is accurate and reliable. Then where and when should they sell and harvest their crop? Should they harvest it today? Should they harvest it a few weeks from now? And which market should they sell to? Because they typically have a choice of 5 or 6 markets that they could go to within about 5 hours of travel distance. Then what is the likely weather condition in my district, in my local area, rainfall, temperature, and relative humidity? Some of you may know that the 60% of the agriculture in India is non-irrigated, so it is dependent hugely on the vagaries of the monsoon, the rains in India. So weather forecast is extremely important. That impacts their productivity and also helps take some of the important decisions around harvest. So that is not available. And then things about improving productivity. Should I sow my seeds 5 inches below soil? What kind of chemical should I put to improve the yield? What kind of pesticide should I put to save the crop, etc., etc., is not typically available to the large majority of the 120 million plus farmers in India. And that is driven largely by, not only, but largely by the huge number of links that are there between the farmer and the end consumer. There are many middlemen. There is one at the village level, and there is one at the trade market level, and there are many more before it reaches the end consumer. And there are multiple markets that the farmer can go through or has to go through or has a choice of rather, as to where to sell. So he could go to the markets which are within 5 hours of travel distance, and they will typically be 4 or 5. And in all, India has about 7,500 regulated markets. and a good percentage of those are available to the farmers. So lots of intermediaries, multiple markets, disaggregated demand, and what's the impact? So the problem is that farmers end up getting very little for their produce. They get about 20% to 25% of the final value of their produce compared to up to 50 to 60% in the West. And there is a huge wastage in crops and resources because of these multiple middlemen, multiple markets, and lack of information. Up to $3 billion of fruits and vegetables go waste every year because of these issues. So there's a real pain. Farmers get very little for their produce, and there's a huge wastage. So how do we address that? What did Reuters Market Light do? Well, Reuters Market Light created the first highly personalized professional information service. So let me explain what that means. Every day we give crop prices from nearby markets. So we give information on what was the rate of soybean today in a particular market or in 3 markets which are within 5 hours of travel distance for the farmer that he himself has selected, or the price of cotton or the price of onions or the price of oranges for that matter. We give agriculture news that impact the crop or input prices, so new subsidies or policies announced by the government or any international or national news that may impact the prices of seeds or the final price of the crop. We give advisory tips that help them improve productivity, and we give them district level weather forecast, which includes relative humidity, rainfall, as well as temperature. And the interesting part of all of this is that while these 4 content sets are very much of professional nature, these help the farmers take professional decisions about when to harvest, what price to sell, which market to sell at, and what to do to improve the productivity. They are delivered in the local language. They fit into their workflow, so the weather forecast goes in the morning, the market prices goes in the afternoon, the news and tips go sometime in the evening. And all of them are chosen as per the individual preferences of each farmer. So imagine each farmer now has the power to decide what information he should get that is most suitable for him, for the crops he grows, for the village where he lives, weather forecast which is within 50-kilometer radius, and news that is relevant to his crop and his state. All of that on a paid-for basis. He pays about $5 for a period of 3 months. So it's a paid service, it's highly personalized, and it's professional information. That's what Reuters Market Light has been able to offer to address the pain points of the farmers. Let's talk about what we have done in the process. We have created a new industry sector and a business model. So micro information services really, which are paid for by the farming community, did not exist. So we built the entire value chain by creating the right content, the right delivery system. It is available on all operators, on all handsets in a personalized manner. We built our own sales network in rural India. We have done marketing, which includes awareness and education of farmers for this new concept. And of course, we give support to the farmers throughout the crop cycle. They can call us any time and change their crop or their markets because many farmers grow multiple crops and they also change their markets depending on where the prices are higher. And typically, they would buy our service for 3 to 6 months, and in that period, if there is any change, they call us up. And this is how broadly we built this business. We started with research in January 2006 with over 300 farmers. Then we went through several rounds of prototyping, testing of the value proposition, creating large-scale market trials, and finally launching the business in the state of Maharashtra in October 2007, so nearly 2.5 years ago. And what you would see here is that we did it with constant engagement with the customers. And farmers from day one were treated as customers, and this was built as a profitable, sustainable business, and that's how it was funded. We've not yet broken even, but the framework was this got to run as a business. So constant customer engagement and done in a way any other business would run. Some examples of how we started to distribute this information service. You may be wondering, how do the farmers really buy? Well, we started by going from village to village, actually holding meetings in temples, in schools and villages, explaining to the farmers what the impact of this could be based on what we had learned in our consumer research and in the market trials. We then started selling them through agri-input outlets. People who sell fertilizers and people who sell pesticides started to sell Reuters Market Light service. And then eventually, in the last 7-8 months, we have done a lot of partnerships with telecom operators, also with a lot of seed companies who are selling a Reuters Market Light card. So we've actually productized this, and for a farmer, the user experience is very smooth and easy. He goes to a shop, says, I want to buy a subscription of 3 months or 6 months or 9 months of Reuters Market Light. He gets a card, he scratches the number on the card, calls a toll-free number, boom, in 24 hours his service is activated. First of its kind and very, very personalized. Let me talk now about the second piece of my conversation, which is, what is the impact on farmers' life? Why is it so interesting? Well, let me start with one example, which is close to my heart. A farmer who's selling bananas, selling for about 4 rupees a kilo, so about 5 cents or so. Based on the RML messages, he negotiates a rate of 7 rupees per kilo. And how he does that is the buyer, the middleman, comes to buy from him, and he says, look, I'm going to buy for 4 rupees a kilo. And he says, look, I'm not going to sell for 4. The price has gone up to 9. And he says, how do you know that? He says, look at Reuters Market Light prices. He says, well, that's just today's price. Then he shows the entire trend for the last week and 10 days, how the prices have gone up in the nearby markets where the middleman will typically sell. So without changing the buyer, without changing the market, without changing the timing of his sale, he was able to get 7 rupees a kilo, so 75% higher price from the same buyer. Another example, a gentleman who was given the information that there is a fall in soybean production in the U.S. and Argentina, and the price was about $320 on that day, and he was able to assess that, look, because of fall in production in soybean, it's an international market, the demand from India will go up. So let me hold back some of my sale and not harvest all of it right now. And he sold it later on at a $500 per quintal. So nearly, $200 per quintal increase. And if he had 10 quintals, you can imagine the ROI he got on a service costing him only $5. So that's the sort of financial impact it has had. And there is another example I'll quickly run through, which is, farmers sowing 3 inches below soil for his soybean. We were told, he was sowing 5 to 7 inches, and we told him to sow it 3 inches. Based on that, he was able to improve his productivity, and this was the best-in-class research that we gathered. All of that delivered in his local language, in Marathi, Punjabi, and at the right stage of the crop cycle, fitting into his workflow. That's what Reuters Market Light has done, and it is not only in the process created financial impact on the farming community, but also empowered them emotionally. They are able to now negotiate with the middlemen. I'll skip this example and I'll go next to a video which talks about a couple of our customers speaking about their experiences. So let's hear that for a short while.
हर दिन पानी देते थे, तो उसमें से हम वो बचत करके, समझो वो पानी हमारा 10 दिन में खत्म होने वाला था या 20 दिन में खत्म होने वाला था, वो हम 1 महीना कैसे जाएगा, इसका हम प्लानिंग किया और उसके हिसाब से हमने 50,000 से कम करके 30,000 लीटर तक पानी देना शुरू किए थे।
15 मार्च को मुझे एक मैसेज आ गया कि 30 मार्च के बाद मार्केट कम होने वाला है, तो मैंने 30 मार्च के पहले ही सब प्याज बिकने का फैसला किया और इससे मुझे 50,000 का फायदा होगा।
So that was a video, of some of our customers. We have now got hundreds and thousands of customers. I'll give you the numbers towards the end. How big Reuters Market Light has become in little over 2 years. But here's another example of the return on investment. This gentleman sent us a handwritten letter, and one of the many who have done that, saying that they made $1,000 more. This guy made about $1,000 more on a service that was costing him only $5, and he wanted to just thank us, and he sent us this handwritten letter with his photograph, and he felt emotionally empowered. And there are people who have said this has turned out to be a message of God for us, and there are people who have said that this has allowed us to pay off our debts. I mean, that's the power of Reuters Market Light. We've started to give information which is, electricity schedules in local districts, and people are able to plan their irrigation activities on that basis. We even tell them that the markets nearby will be closed on Thursdays or Fridays. They're able to plan their transportation on that basis. All of that in the past required calling up 10 people. Sometimes the info was not available, and they would end up wasting huge resources. So that's what the farmers have said, and that's the impact on them. Let's quickly talk about what the world has to say in the last 2 years or so. I'll just give you a few examples. The government and semi-government organizations have recognized the impact of Reuters Market Light. We were given the recognition by UNDP as one of the companies who have the potential to impact the Millennium Development Goals positively, particularly around alleviating poverty. And there was another study that was done by ICRIER in India independently, which said each of our customers had made anywhere between $10 to $500 within a period of a few months of using Reuters Market Light. And if you do a rough calculation, we might have added about $20 million to $50 million of additional wealth at that time, within about a year's time, to the farming community. And then, of course, leading academic institutes have talked about it. It's taught in Cambridge. It's been a case study in London Business School. The whole business model innovation and creating an industry sector that did not exist. And of course, a lot of global, national, and regional media recognition, including The Economist, the BBC, and a few books, including a few pages in C.K. Prahalad's path-breaking book, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. So what we have done, we have innovated at several levels and created a significant impact. First one, unprecedented financial and emotional impact on farmers' lives and their work lives. How do they really work now? They get up in the morning, they wait for the RML message, and based on that, they decide what to do with the rest of the day, how to negotiate, where to sell, when to harvest, etc., etc. And as I said, we would have created by now, and this is just a rough estimate of that sort of a wealth of $100 million of additional productivity gains, but a huge empowerment. Secondly, we've created a new business model from content through distribution to sell micro information services that directly impact work life and their livelihoods. It did not exist before RML came into being. And then, of course, we've built an ecosystem. Now there are banks in rural India which are selling RML card. There are telecom operators, there are fertilizer companies, there are seed companies. More than 20 such partners we've built in India who have been doing this on a regular basis. So how big have we become? And that's just a snapshot. We have, in the last little over 2 years, sold to more than 200,000 customers, and this is important to understand that they have been mostly buying for more than 6 months. So it's not just somebody who's used it for 10 days. They're repeatedly using it. We estimate that through sharing, and this is validated partly by an anecdote or several anecdotes from Oxford University team and our own teams, that they are sharing with other farmers. So we could have crossed now nearly 2 million farmers because each one is sharing with about 5 to 10 others. So at least 1 million estimated users. They're spread across 15,000 villages, and we have invested in creating content network by putting full-time content professionals. So right now, we cover more than 250 crops, 1,000 market yards or mandis, from where we source local content and news every day. We give them international news, again, localized in the language, and we give 2,000 weather locations in India, and we cover about 12 states, and each state with a population of total population about 60 to 80 million people. So it's pretty big footprint we have created in just over 2 years. But most important in all of this is the impact in the lives of the farmers and the impact assessment done by independent bodies. So let me just summarize this with, what is the road ahead? Well, the vision really is to impact millions of livelihoods, but in a sustainable, profitable manner. This is run as a separate P&L. It reports to a separate board, and it's my job to make it a profitable venture, and we are getting there, making very steady progress to that end. We want to expand our presence in India. We want to move then to parts of Africa, which we've kicked off very recently, and then, of course, other emerging markets. Just this morning, I was talking to a team in Afghanistan invited by the World Bank to help them kickstart something similar in Kabul. So that's the objective. We want to impact millions of livelihoods, but in a sustainable, profitable manner. So with that, I want to just leave you with one video that gives you more flavor of how it started, how we work, and what is the impact on some more customers. And hope you have enjoyed the presentation and seen what an innovative service it is, what the impact of that is, and what a multiplier effect we have created by creating this industry. And there's still a very exciting journey ahead of us. Thank you.
Good business is consistent with a sensible development approach for societies, and nowhere more so than with Project Market Light, I'd say. In a nutshell, what it does is provide market information, weather information, and information about local crops that would be useful to farmers in rural areas of India over their mobile phones. Basically, for the cost of a coffee every quarter, you get the information you need to sell your crops at a fair price. It's an idea that came from a member of staff, and we began growing it in London, but then we realized, this is not something you do half a world away. So the head of this particular service took his team, moved to Mumbai, and began growing it as a local entrepreneurial startup. For me, the really great thing about Project Market Light is that it provides the exact sort of market transparency to create fair and efficient markets at the bottom of the pyramid and not just in the dealing rooms in London. We've started in one state in India. We'll take it nationwide in India, and then eventually to Africa, to Asia, to any place, any developing area where agriculture is an important part of the economy.
It's a typical morning as the sun rises over a small hamlet, Pimpalwadi, located about 200 kilometers from Mumbai, the commercial capital of India. His morning starts with a hot cup of sweet milky tea and a quick glance at the weather alert from Reuters Market Light. Dada's cell phone beeps almost as unfailingly as his rooster.
माझ्या मोबाईलमध्ये केळीवर काही जर रोग असेल तर त्याला औषध मारा, खतं कोणती द्यायची, ड्रिपमधून कोणती खतं द्यायची, ते सुद्धा मेसेज येतात. आम्हाला बराचसा हवामानाचा अंदाज कळतो. तर आपल्याकडे कायमचे बाजार येतात, तो आमचा फायदा आहे. खतं कोणती द्यायची, परत रोग कोणता पडला कोणतं औषध मारायचं, याचा बराचसा फायदा झाला. असे बरेच दुकानदार आहेत ना, तर ते प्रत्येक वेगवेगळे भावात असतात. तर त्यांच्याकडून औषधं घ्यायची आणि ते फवारायची.
आता तुम्ही कोणती माहिती यांच्याकडनं घेता, म्हणजे फोन करून, म्हणजे आता तुम्ही
सांगितलं आपण आपल्याकडे फ्लावर असते, फ्लावरचे बाजार काय, मुंबई पुणे मार्केट काय होते, किंवा तुमचं काही त्याच्यावर काही रोग आला, काय औषध मारायचे किंवा काय, अशी माहिती घेतलीच जाते.
Thousands of Reuters Market Light customers across the country start their day not very differently. Highly localized weather alerts from some of the best weather forecasting agencies across the world are put right in the palms of the farmers. This is made possible by the customized content management system which RML has developed specifically to suit the needs of the farming community. Be it weather, news, or market prices, personalizing it to meet the local information needs of their customers is what Reuters Market Light has made possible. Reuters Market Light is tied up with the most advanced research institutes and experts in agriculture and industry for accurate and reliable crop information. Several national institutes have tied up with Reuters Market Light to deliver their expert advice to the Indian farmer. Today, Reuters Market Light has been purchased by nearly 160,000 farmers across 15,000 villages and is estimated to have been used by over 1 million farmers.
किती लोकांना तुमच्याकडे जे
आपल्या सर्कलमध्ये सर्व लोकांना मी सांगतो.
सर्कलमध्ये म्हणजे किती लोक असतील तरी?
10-12 लोक.
Leveraging on the mobile ecosystem and the business model that's been created around it, Reuters Market Light's vision is to be the global leader in providing intelligent information services on mobile phones to rural markets.
We spent a lot of time in the field ourselves as a management team, but also we had hundreds of people who were going from village to village, gathering farmers together, asking them what are their information needs, and then showing it to them how this is being fulfilled by Reuters Market Light.
Okay, Amit, thank you very, very much for sharing that with us. It's clear that RML has already had an incredible impact on not only the way farmers in rural India work, but in the way they live. So we look forward to the continued success of RML, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Always my pleasure.